friends and aspirants, welcome back to High Point again. And in this video, we will see yet another radical feminist theoretician and thinker known as Helen Cixous, and her biography will see major text and major concepts, key terms that she introduced also will be discussed in this video. She was born in the year 1937. And before that, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, do subscribe to my channel if you are interested to have more contents related to English literature, and also follow me on Instagram. There too we are sharing many variety of materials which are relevant in your NET JRF English language and literature preparation. And also visit my website if you are looking for some online study materials for your NET JRF English language and literature preparation in the form of audio lectures, PDF materials, and also previous and practice question papers. And let's move on to our major content of this video. Now let's have an introduction about the biography of Helen Cixous. She is a French feminist poet, playwright, philosopher, and literary critic. She is in plenty. Mainly, we love her as a feminist literary critic. In other than that, she was also a poet, playwright, philosopher, and literary critic. Her most notable work is The Love of the Medusa, which established her as a post-structuralist feminist. While she was doing her PhD, her prime focus was English literature and her works and the works of James Joyce. So while she was doing her PhD, she mainly focused upon English literature and mainly the works of James Joyce. In 1974, Cixous opens the Center for Women's Studies in the University of Paris 8. And in the year 1974, she opens the Center for Women's Studies in the University of Paris 8. In the 1970s, she began writing on the relationship between sexuality and language. She was a radical thinker in feminist criticism, and around the 1970s, she began to write what is the relationship between sexuality and language, how language itself is different for males and females. Derrida referred her as the greatest living writer in the French language. Who referred her as the greatest living writer in the French language? Derrida. Jacques Derrida, a thinker in deconstruction, referred her as the greatest living writer in French language. Do remember this relevant point about Helen Cixous. These are the major works by Helen Cixous. I'll read the title and the year of publication. You read along with me or pause the video and read the titles multiple times so that you may remember them. The Exile of James Joyce, published in the year 1972. The Love of Medusa, published in 1975, and it got translated into English in 1976. Okay. Inside was published in the year 1986. The Newly Born Woman in 1980. 6. The Third Body in 1999, Portrait of Jacques Derrida as a Young Jewish Saint in 2004, Reveries of the Wild Woman in 2006. She has come up with the immense number of works. I just mentioned the important ones only. Okay, read the titles again. The Exile of James Joyce, The Love of Medusa, Inside, The Newly Born Woman, The Third Body, Portrait of Jacques Derrida as a Young Jewish Saint, Reveries of the Wild Woman. And now let's see some details related to the major works by Cixous titled as The Love of the Medusa, which was published in the year 1974. It's a critical feminist essay which actually contributed immensely to literary feminism. It was originally written in French as Les Rires de la Medusa in the year 1975 and was later translated into English by Paula Cohen and Kate Cohen in 1976. So the translation of The Love of the Medusa was made by Paula Cohen and Kate Cohen in 1976. She announced a distinctive kind of writing for women. See, many women, many radical feminists, they argued about the importance of writing in order to bring about a female discourse. Okay, so she also announced a distinctive, a variety and different kind of writing for women, which is she termed as Ecriture feminine, that she says attempts to move outside of the conventional rule found in patriarchal system. So Ecriture feminine is a a different kind of writing. When we were discussing about feminism, there also we have seen this key term, Ecriture feminine. It's a different kind of feminine which aims at openness, which will move outside of the conventional rules. It is not based on the conventional rules of writing found in patriarchal systems. She argues that Ecriture feminine allows women to address their needs by building strong self narratives and identity. Ecriture feminine is feminine writing, which will allow women to address their needs. So far in English canon, you can understand that patriarchal discourses, which are centered, which are phallocentric discourses, are quite visible and approved in English canon. So, in order to bring about female discourses, you have to write. Every woman should write. Women should write about their body and body fluids and about their identity and experiences and their sexuality. They should write any other experiences that they are having in their life in order to bring about liberty, in order to bring about liberation, in order to bring about inclusiveness in literature. So, you should address your needs by building a strong self narratives and identity. This text is situated in a history of feminist conversation that separated women in terms of their gender and women in terms of authorship. So this text, that means the Law of the Medusa as a text, is situated in a history of feminist conversation. So a feminist conversation is happening, historical feminist conversation happening in the Law of the Medusa that separated women in terms of their gender. That's how women got subjugated because of this their gender, and subjugated women in terms of authorship. Women have no authorship. No, women owns nothing. Even their own body is not owned by them. So the how authorship needs to be owned by women, how women experiences are narrated by women. So far it was not, in the traditional English canon you cannot find women authored work. Women's experiences were also explained by explained by male authors. Male discourses and male perceptions are visible even in women experiences. So that need to be ended. For that, a strong self narratives and identity need to be built, and that need to be promoted through writing. The Law of the Medusa addresses the rhetoric, writing on individuality, and commanding women to use writing and the body as source of power and inspiration. Every other woman should write. It commands, this text commands women to use writing as a source of liberation. Use their body, write about their body and body fluids in order to bring about power, in order to bring about inspiration, in order to bring about female discourses and experience and identity. Cixous uses the term the logic of anti-love to describe her understanding of the systematic oppression of women by patriarchal figures. So she uses this particular term logic of anti-love in order to describe her understanding, how she perceived the systematic oppression of women by patriarchal figures, how using patriarchal figures, how women are systematically oppressed. In order to describe that process, she uses logic of anti-love. She defines the logic of anti-love as the self-hatred women have. So women they themselves feel that they must be subjugated by men. They believe that they are inferior to men. That is self-hatred that women possess. So Cixous defines logic of anti-love as the self-hatred women have. They have made for women an anti-narcissism. So because of this logic of anti-love, they have made for women an anti-narcissism, a narcissism which love itself only to be loved by what women haven't got. So women see men, and they view men as complete. They desire men, and in a way that women they hate themselves and they love what they have not. Okay, women are different from men, and they say men are something superior and they love what men have. They are not proud and love what women they themselves have, but they see men what they have, they what they haven't got, they see that in men and they love that and they desire that and they hate for themselves for not having whatever men are possessed of. This idea persecutes women by defining them by what a misogynistic tradition believes makes the female sex inferior. So in that way, female sex got, female gender got inferior. Cixous commands women to focus on individuality, particularly the individuality of body, and to try to redefine self-identity in the context of her history and narrative. So Cixous commands, not even suggests, she commands women to focus on your own individuality. We no need to look upon men as something complete, something essential, but you look upon your own individuality, your own uniqueness and your own beauty. You have to particularly look at the individuality of your own body that is owned by you. You should own and use your body, and you have to write about your body and body fluids. So you have to write about them in order to redefine your own self-identity in the context of her history and narrative. This essay includes the argument that writing is a tool women must use to advocate for themselves in order to acquire the freedom women have historically been denied. Historically, if you can see, women have denied the freedom. So, in order to acquire that freedom which was denied to women, you have to write. As a woman, you have to write. So, writing is a tool that can be that can liberate women, that can make themselves more focused upon their own individuality, their own body. They can use their body, they can use about female experiences so that a female discourse can be bring about. So in that way you need to write about it. So writing is a tool that every woman should advocate for themselves. Why should they write? They should write for themselves in order to liberate themselves, and they can, through that they can acquire the freedom women have historically denied. So, Ecriture feminine, that was the major concept key term that was introduced by her in The Love of the Medusa. Okay, remember that I'm not going to discuss that again and again in the previous introductory session of feminism. You can see that video in the I button, the very first video in the entire session of feminism. So that's all about this video about Helene Cixous. I hope this was clear to you. If you have any doubts, you can use the number to reach out to me to clear your doubts, or you can use the Instagram page, Instagram ID to reach me, or you can comment below under this video in order to have more discussions about this thinker Helene Cixous. If you have any add-on points about Helene Cixous and her major text and concepts, you can also comment that below in the comment section. Do not forget to visit my website www.highpoint.in in order to have more elaborate discussions about major thinkers and major writers of English literature and English literary criticism and theory. Meet you in the next video session. Until then, stay tuned to High Point and always be happy and strive for your best for the upcoming NET JRF English Language and Literature. Meet you in the next video. Ta-ta!